Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're gonna be doing Poundtown with Trench Horn. This is the third time we're doing it, and it's gonna be interesting. I hope it's really cool and everybody loves it and enjoys it. Sends all the donuts and everything else. I need to make an actual video of my sister's battle. But other than that, thank you everybody for being here. If you're not here, then bring somebody else here. I know there's everybody and their mama streaming right now, which is fine. So if you're looking or watching this later on, be sure to hit the like button or something. Help the fellow streamer who's very emotional. Shit. Um, I don't, I don't think I have much to talk about when it comes to me directly. We're gonna be doing the talk with Trench Horn in a little while. But yeah, weird days. I live in Weirdlandia. That's what I think. I think I'm living in Weirdlandia. I do have debate tomorrow. The debate tomorrow is about morality. I'm gonna have a morality debate in Horseradish's channel. It's gonna be different setting, so I'm not supposed to be there all this time waiting for something to happen. It's more gonna be me going in there and then doing the debate and getting out. That's pretty much the idea that I have. That I think I have. Oh my god. I am actually a little bit sick. But yeah, yeah, I hope everybody's having a good day. I hope everybody is enjoying their time. Don't be like Emmett. Have a good day. Don't be sick, in other words. I'm just a bit sick. Let me see. It's not history, it's not download. Uh I just need to find the I just need to find what I was looking for. There we go. Wait, what is this? Oh, this is not it. uh, I think this is it. Uh, one of the good things that I've had, thank God, with the fact that I can, talk with Trench, is I've been able to really solidify positions that in the past I didn't have. Right, and then I don't need to over explain in a sense. Like tomorrow is gonna be a bloodbath. I can tell you that much. I am sure that tomorrow we're gonna have a little bit of a bloodbath. And it's gonna be awesome. Own it. Should I watch that again? I really like that. There we go. Sociological metaphysics, that is the one. I'm just gonna have it on its own tab. What is this? Oh no. This is gonna be all. Ugh, this is not gonna be good. Why am I even watching this? It is what it is. We suffer together. There's no last sound.
58 in the morning. I was just watching. Hello, everybody. It is 1:58 in the morning. I was just watching Kidology's cover of me and my family. And I was thinking to myself, because she said my dancing was so beautiful. Thank you, darling. Really appreciate it. I felt inspired, you know. I felt inspired. I've been listening to some Beatles lately, and I thought I'd give you guys another show. Maybe she'll react to it. I love you, sweetie. I don't know what I'm doing. Here's another thought, though. Maybe my whole concept with men, maybe that's overrated, you know? Maybe I should go, like, for girls. I'm not saying any, I don't know if kidology is, taken or whatever. Here's the essential problem. I'm looking for a man, but in every situation where I'm talking to a guy, I end up having to be the man in the situation, and
What is going on here? She complaining that the men are not manly enough. Navy Bree, thank you for being here. You are first in my chat, and then we have W Radio saying greeting and salutations. Greeting and salutations to you, my friend. Oh my god.
he acts like the virgin
Sorry, I was talking to you. I was just checking up.
maiden. Why am I sitting here going like,
Sounds like she has a habit of infantilizing men that complains when they try to get along with her BS. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know them, right? I know of them, and I've talked to them like twice. And the one time they were together on my channel, and we were having like an actual conversation. They were. They seem to be. They seem to have these personas that are like very out there and kind of drama farming and just like showcasing insanity in a sense. I don't really know them. I cannot say that because I never had I never had like an actual conversation with Grace about what. No, well, she's in. If I wish we could have a love audit with Grace. I think a love audit with Grace would be interesting.
it's a lot of work and not really a lot of payoff so far. I guess what I'm saying is let's just go all in. Let's just do the strap on. Because that's the point we're at. That's where I'm at this point. There's no I can't do it anymore. Everybody wants every guy I meet wants me to be the man in the relationship. Why try to fight that? Why not just go for it? Several people have said they thought I was a lesbian, so I don't really see myself being the sub in a lesbian relationship if I had to go there. I don't know. I think I'm a switch. It's probably better than most men can do, to be honest. I don't know. I just feel like going on an anti-male rampage. That's right. I'm not a man hater. I'm actually, a lot of people have said that I'm a man whatever praiser. But I can't keep living like this, guys. I really can't. Every conversation I have.
Yeah, well, it seems that you are actually having a problem with the kind of men you're having to deal with, in a sense, right? But I don't think it's a problem with the kind of men you have to deal with. It's the kind of social environment you're on. I don't know.
With a guy. Ends up with him saying that I kind of raped him because I was flirting with him.
What the fuck?
And I'm sick of it. Enjoy. This one's for you, kid.
I'm not gonna do that.
Recently, I think you might find it interesting. These are legitimately hilarious. This is from somebody, we'll call him Samuel. Monday, May 8th. Would you ever sell a pair of your panties? You're wicked hot. 2 minutes later, Just figured I'd ask. Let me know. And then 20 minutes later, $500, and they have to be worn by you for a day. 3 minutes later, this isn't a troll, by the way.
What the fuck?
So naturally, I accepted his request, his message request. This was on Twitter. I should have said that. Then, 4 days later, at 7:18 p.m., he goes, $1,000. I haven't responded yet. This one is a girl, so we'll call her Sheila. Monday, May 8th. You're a literal abuser. What the fuck? That was at 9:04 a.m. I accept.
Where Senor Trench? I don't know where Senor Trench is. What the fuck is going on? This is a problem that I have, right? They can be insane, but those things are insane. Also, where's my fucking hate mail? I go off on people. I call them names. I try to get my hate mail. I don't get any hate mail. Nobody cares. Oh, man.
Did her DM request, but I did not respond. Thursday, so this is 3 days later, at 9:54 a.m. Do you have Cash App? This is like I'm being dead ass. Okay, I'm like trying to hide the names of the people, but I don't think this is gonna expose anybody. I have one message from a guy whose name is Pathetic Cuck Boy with a shrimp emoji. Reese on Saturday, May 6th, sent the link to BetterHelp.com, which is a therapy site. I'm sure everybody's seen the ads. And he goes, "It's okay to seek help. Nobody can."
It's okay to seek help. Oh, this fucking person. Oh, man. This is the reason why I get annoyed when people make arguments of people being victims. She's not a victim, for example. She's old enough to then make her own choices. She has actual accountability. She should have actual accountability for her own choices. And it's fine in a sense.
Bring me down. Nobody, nobody can bring me. Did something just move back there? 2:20 a.m. is a pretty good time to stop filming, right? And you know what? If I start talking to Kidology, I'm going to start talking in an English accent because that's what I do when I talk to English people. And she don't even talk like this. And to be honest, I really prefer talking like this because...
Okay, somebody's been drinking. I don't know that. That's not a claim of knowledge. It just seems to be the case that somebody's been drinking a little bit. Yeah, I'm fascinated. To be fair, I am fascinated by crazy people. I have a different, as I said to other people in the past, I have a different kind of crazy. My crazy is different than other people crazy. That doesn't mean that I don't have a little bit of autism on my own side in a sense. Gaming for Hope interview Overwatch most hated you too. Okay. Oh my god. This is so dumb. There was another Yesterday I got a little bit of a stream sniped, which is fine. Don't mind. If I remove a live, it's either because I think it's either because I think there is a problem with this stream, like either copyright or other stuff like that. Uh, yeah. Or there was like TOS violations. So, but if people wanted to react to my content, so the fun thing that what I found funny is that I was doing like Warhammer and it was just building stuff. It was like a very bad camera angle. It was bad in general, and that was like what they were reacting to, and I found it so funny. It's like, oh, I think you are reacting to the worst possible streaming setup ever. Good to see you, Elder. It says this isn't Final Fantasy 14. It is Final Fantasy 14. You just don't understand. You just not understanding. You're not understanding, okay? Okay, that is the thing. You're not understanding. There was another person who talked a lot of bullshit about Rachel today that decided to debate Andrew, and it's kind of. I thought it was kind of funny because he, in a quite literal manner, didn't have anything to say about Rachel being a 304 in a sense. Well, I didn't know. Oh God. And I'm not gonna just pile on him in a sense. I'm not gonna super pile on. Because he did say I'm sorry and he apologized and he said that he was mistaken in what he had done in a sense. But my God, that's kind of dumb. I remember there was something else I wanted to react to. Well, there's a thing I want to react to, but I'm not going to. Because I just don't care at this point. Independent thinker, good to see you, mate. We're just waiting for Trench Horn, Trench Deacon to show up. I'm doing okay. Hope you're doing fine. Let's bring Trenchhorn, now that I mentioned him.
In one part of my episode, I criticized Dyer for calling Talbert Swan Tilda Swinton. He wasn't being abusive, but it is annoying and silly for someone who wants to publicly defend the Christian faith on a large platform. But then Dyer said on X, Trent Horn virtue signals over me calling a fake black activist bishop a fake bishop. But I didn't say that. This is either a lie or an ignorant falsehood. So I told Jay, I accurately pointed out your embarrassing behavior, which in this case was calling Talbert Swan Tilda Swinton. I said nothing about the title of bishop. This is yet another example of you behaving like an overgrown 12-year-old instead of a mature man of God. Grow up. Notice my reply.
Okay. Let me tell you. he is what's his name from The Simpsons? Damn. It's not Bart. Oh, Flanders, yeah. He is actually Flanders. This is gonna be him someday.
So, Flanders, what do you think of the house that Love built? Oh, shoot.
Gotta be little Lisa Simpson.
This is gonna be him in a sense.
We meant well, and everyone here tried their best.
Well, my family and I can't live in good intentions, Marge. Oh,
That's gonna be him someday.
Reply is not verbal abuse. It's a fraternal correction rooted in objective facts about how Dyer was conducting himself. Once again, fraternal correction is not the same as abusive insults, and any mature person can see the difference.
I didn't
But
remember.
after giving this kind
I remembered, by the way, that Trench Deacon had hit me up to get um a week ago so we could do these, and then he hit me up today. So that's we're doing this. Maybe I says I'll I'll download it. Maybe tomorrow I'll start. That's gonna be interesting though. You're just gonna get 50 people watching randomly or something.
of
It's gonna be
correction
cool.
to Jay Dyer, he completely lost it. He immediately blocked me and went on a tirade of posts, including one where he simply says, "Hey, Trent, F word you."
Hey Trent. Oh no. F you. Bro looks like he got a jawbreaker from the Wonka factory sitting in his cheek. Yeah.
And this kind of language isn't unusual for Jay.
It's
Though I would
actually
ask
true.
him if the Orthodox monks on Mount Athos talk like he does. And I'm going to be blunt.
We're not the monks. I know people have a problem understanding these, but there's different standards of acting. Jesus. Oh, are you acting like the monk in Mount Athos? That means you're not an Orthodox. It's like, what? What you talk about?
If a person consistently has this kind of anger in his heart, he will not go to heaven.
What did he say?
He will not go to heaven.
I don't see why a certain word is. There's no words that are inherently evil. I've never understood this. The King James uses the word piss. And then people will argue, as we argued today with the Skittles men on Piers Morgan, they will argue that, well, but it's taboo now. Well, see, now are we Christians or social justice warriors? Because the same argument that because of taboo makes something suddenly morally evil is the same argument telling me that I can't use the word moron or retard or any other derogatory term or any term that substitutes now for a derogatory term. So even if I'm Zach Galifianakis and I say the word retort, that's also bad. So now you see the words are inherently bad. This is superstition and idiocy. The only reason that the word fook and the word shit and so forth are, quote, bad words is because in English society, those were the terms that the vulgar commoners used.
True. The vulgar commoners. Which, by the way, we're not royalty, so far as I know. Well, there's a couple of people on my channel that can be considered to be royalty. But other than that,
Light society had other terms and words, and when the peasantry was drinking their ale and they're trying to get with the wench maidens inside their
Trench, my friend, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Sorry about the delay.
Yeah, no worries. We went through a little bit of a person on the internet who's a little bit crazy, crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was complaining about how men are just awful, and then we went to Trench Horn saying that words are bad because the monks at Mount Athos would never say it or something. He's a weirdo. How are you? How are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, you doing?
Hold on. I'm doing good, man. I'm trying to fix my audio though. 1 second.
Who's a descendant of conquistadors? Wood wood. Oh man,
All right,
true.
I'm good. So where were we at last time? Did we touch on like the 9 basic philosophers
What are you talking about? Sorry.
on triumvirate theory?
We finished. So today I'm a little bit sick, so you're gonna be mostly on charge. But we finished the collective in the Americans, and we went to the American Triumvirate, Hamilton,
Okay,
Washington, and Jefferson. And
cool.
then we talk a little bit. I think, yeah, we talk about the German Republic with the Schnatzes, and I
Yes.
think we're going to
Yeah.
the sociological.
Right. Now we're gonna get into the philosophers and the
Yeah,
political philosophy here.
we're talking about the political philosophers. I think you had the libertarian versus authoritarian.
All
What are the
right.
other
Let's
two
see.
axes? This is libertarian,
Oh,
authoritarian, and then over here is
economic,
economics.
and that was just a little fun little. I do this thing where I play with 3s and 4s. It's kind of leftover from my old Gnostic days, but it is interesting how much 3s and 4s build superstructures.
I find it
Uh,
funny that you put the Unabomber as a super libertarian guy.
yeah,
I
he's a
don't remember
radical.
I don't remember
Well,
him
well,
being a super
uh,
libertarian guy.
well, that just goes to on that axis. See, this is why I don't like a quadrant.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but there's only one way to get away from. He was an anarchist.
Yeah,
So
he was
really,
an anarchist.
the only way you can go is south, and that's when you get into also. And this is also why I don't like the quadrant, the libertarian left, so to speak, the
Yeah.
anarcho communist. They talk a good talk, but they don't exist in exit polls, and
Uh-huh.
their philosophy is an oxymoron.
Well, I was talking to somebody not long ago, and they were talking about and I would like to know what you think about this. They were talking about more morality. So they were pretty much telling me that morality was either subjective or objective, right? So and I was like, well, no. Most of the people, when they mean subjective, actually they mean collective. So it's all about
Right,
force, the force of the collective. The state decides what is good or bad in a sense. And then
right,
you have the subjectivists, the ones that said no. Morality is dependent upon what I want. And then there's the objective idea of morality, which has to come from something greater than us in a sense. And since it's a mind dependent concept, and you're talking about universality, it has to come from a universal mind. So you're talking about God. And those are like the three ways of actually looking at what morality is, in a sense.
agreed.
And yeah, I find it funny that I explained that it was collective, and they keep on saying that it was subjective. Like, but that makes no sense. It makes no sense, boy. Makes no sense. Did you see the?
And then they'll try to use, but paradoxically, they'll also try to use every Christian virtue from
Uh-huh.
some kind of secularist standpoint and not understand the contradiction that exists on how they even have any virtue.
True. Oh, sorry. Did you
Because of
see
its
them?
subjective nature. It all just becomes their preference.
Yeah, it is all. It's a preference based idea. In fact, like all of it is becomes preference at the end. Did you see the seraphims?
Oh yeah. I missed my catechism on Wednesday. I know that that was probably going to be a hot subject. I feel bad for missing it,
Mhm.
but they finally done it. So is it full on?
No. Look at the screen. You're talking about Seraphim Rose. I'm talking about my seraphims.
Oh, I was on a different screen. Wow, those are coming together. So those are the trees you were talking about, having them. Actually like that better than the clear stands.
Yeah, the stands look good, but well, the stands are just like real. They said that they break all the time, so I didn't want to do
That
it
too.
there. And these ones are pretty sturdy, even if it's just a like a little piece of a tree
Oh,
branch.
you said you were gonna do that, and I was a little suspect at first, but I think you nailed it.
It still needs a little more
Because they don't,
work. But yeah, it looks good.
but they don't look like, ninjas or Naruto bouncing off trees. They actually look like they're in flight, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
just their
yeah,
background.
yeah. I did enjoy that they look really good, and they do seem to be like actually kind of either like flying or doing something like that, which I think is pretty cool. I really like that. Um, anyway, let's start. We're gonna start with the political philosophy. So we have the power structures, absolutism, individualism, and collectivism, and then there's like the different all of the different philosophers that are kind of famous right
Yeah,
now in a sense.
I break well that in classic. I wanted to start in like the philosophy 101 realm where you start with like the social contract and the natural state.
Uh huh.
Uh and really suss out Rousseau, Hobbes, and Locke, and how these three guys are, uh, you know, basically the foundational tello for their collectivist, individualist, and absolutist models. So I break it down into like, uh, let's see here, yeah, the foundation with the natural state through those three guys.
Mm-hmm.
Then we look at like their power structures and their spiritual slash ethical creeds, each of the three tello that is, and we're going to do that through Hegel, Nozick, and Nietzsche. And then we look at the accelerationist tactics, and the ethos behind that, and what strategies and motivations there are for the acceleration. And we'll look through Marx, Nick Land, more of a newer guy, but I believe after we're all dead, he'll actually be like a Nietzsche of the future in a weird way for the individualists.
Yeah.
um, and
So
then Mussolini is the absolutist.
let me do something real quick. This is just because money talks. So first of all, thank you very much to World Radio. If you're purple, you say so. For five says Emmett is sick. Farmer cat, hurry! Grab the bapu and a pot of hot water. Stat! And my reply to that is, did you get that allowance money from your mom? You're incapable dolt. But thank you for the five. If you don't know, I will be going on off on you whenever we get a donut. It's just how way it goes right now. And I have my big vapor with me. I'm just um I'm just have a stuffy nose. But it's working, I guess. But I
It
wanted just
happens.
to push it up. Thank you so much for the five. Um, do you have a political well from the philosophers, because we're looking at the philosophers right now.
Mhm.
And I see that there's like very classic ones, but I don't never got to the point in which I can put them exactly in the teloids. Like Plato is like his idea theory, the Platonic idea,
And
idealism.
you could get subjective with some of the placement of some of these people. So I'm a full disclosure. I looked at about 100 different of these type of memes,
Uh-huh.
and I went with the one that I thought was the most accurate.
Okay, yeah, that makes
Out of
sense.
like out of like a top three. I I made other collages. There's only so much time and memory to make collages. But I liked where Confucius was. I like the Yellow Emperor. I like Socrates, his position. I like Nick Land's position on the right. I like Zizek's position on the left. I consider him probably the most dangerous liberal mind,
You like
and
Zizek?
probably
I hate
uh,
Zizek.
I no, I said dangerous.
Okay, okay, yeah.
from a moral, spiritual, and philosophical standpoint, I hate him. But like gang recognizing gang in the world of philosophy, I understand him.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
And to me, he's in the top 5 spooky guys of like careful. And he does this weird little tick trick, like it's a part of his mimetic. The whole sniffing thing when he's about ready and stuttering more when he's about ready to say something profound and serious,
Yeah,
quote unquote. But anyway, let's see here. Is there any other points? Yeah, just going. Obviously, we could fill in an endless sea of philosophers. What's in Plato is in Rousseau, is in Hegel. So you can see an evolution. Blah blah blah.
yeah.
These are the 9
Well, I
I pick.
mean, Hegelian dialectics is the dumbest thing I've heard in my
No,
life.
but
But
he's not the first dialectical thinker.
oh, I no,
And
I don't mean he is the first one, but yeah, I
yeah,
just
yeah. But the questioning and the back and forth dialectics are inescapable.
that's true. Let's
There's always going to be conflict. My model is a dialectic.
So we're gonna start with collectivism. You say Rousseau is the foundation, Hegel is the spirit and the ethics, and then Marx is the accelerationist. What do you mean by accelerationist?
Like he's the real call to action. He is these by the accelerations. I mean the actual call to action. Like Marx, the manifesto, complete trash, no solutions. It's just one never-ending call to action. He's good at pointing out the problems. He's got no solutions, and outside of a pipe dream of a revolution.
Okay, so yeah, you're talking about the pipe in a sense. You're talking about them only
Mm-hmm.
having a pipe dream.
Mm-hmm. Well, not just it's not just the pipe dream. It's the actual call to action, the rally cry, the ethic, the ethos behind the movement.
Okay, okay, yeah, I see. Hey Emmett, hey Emmett, hey Emmett. It says I love
Or
you and you're grounded. Hey Abe, good to see you.
and by accelerationist, I mean there's an actual call for acceleration, be it violence, tearing down the system, rebuilding the system in our image. All three Tello have a build, destroy, build strategy that
Yeah.
differentiates from the other.
Well, I do see that the tip of the pyramids in every one of the Tello, in a sense, is like hell, right? So you're pretty much
Mm-hmm.
calling towards that ideation of that ideal because it's a road paving lies. So the lie
Right.
is the ideal that's at the top, which is actually hell, and yeah, it makes sense.
And newly sainted Saint Rose would say at these tips, that's where the nihilism is the purest and most demonic.
I don't think he's been canonized yet. I think that he is in the process of,
He's like got to get a couple more stamps.
but he hasn't. Yeah, and
Fingers crossed.
I was just people told, just people said that to be mindful
True.
and just yeah, to be mindful and don't say anything until it's either done or not done.
Right, right, right.
So I'm just telling you
Fingers
what I read when it came to
fi-
that.
fingers crossed. No, I thought we were talking about him for a second. No, you were actually had the Battle Sisters up. No, we're cool. We're cool. So with Rousseau now, um, I consider personally, I consider Rousseau like the proto-communist, but that's just my opinion or whatever. But he says man is born free, but everywhere he's in chains. So already he has this like collectivist, um, the world is unfair deal. Uh, Rousseau was a political philosopher, and uh,
So pretty much what he
his ideas are like backbone to the French Revolution and the Enlightenment.
yeah,
Um, yeah.
exactly. He was the building blocks for for the French Revolution comes from Rousseau, and it's kind of interesting because he actually, in a sense, he won, right?
Mhm.
His
Today we
ideas
think
won. No,
today
back
the
then.
left, they won now even though too. Look at the progressive left today.
No, but
They
I
would
mean back
your
then they
average,
won.
yeah, they won, but I'm saying even his idea is surviving on today in the sense of how many people think that poverty is the reason why people are evil or do crime. It
Oh
comes
yeah.
from this guy, right? It comes from this guy right here. He thinks that human beings are a clean slate when you're born, and that it's your society, your town, your parents, your priest, the king, all these things put pressure on you and make you who you are, and it's unfair.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
what I was gonna say is that he kind of won in a sense in the past, and you can see what happens when the ideation goes all the way to the fruition. The fruition is like the destruction of the monarchy and the what was at a point like the hell of it's not Rousseau. Who was the one who was at the top of the parliament at that time?
no, the king.
No, not the king. The one who was at the top of the parliament when the king was defeated and then removed.
Oh,
I don't
wait,
remember his name, but
Maximilian. Uh, he got his head cut off.
yeah,
And
I
which
mean
revolution? Which revolution are we talking about?
the
Too.
French Revolution,
I know, but which one?
the
It
first
was kind
one,
of
the one where they deposed the king and ended up with the king being dead.
Louis and Antoinette.
Yeah, Louis and Antoinette,
Okay, so yeah, then
and the kid was
Maximilian Ruspieri tried taking
Robespierre.
over
Yeah,
for
Robespierre,
yeah
exactly him.
he took over for a while with his pseudo Masonic cult of the super rationalism or whatever. It literally has some kind of name like that. I can't remember off the
Yeah,
top of my
but
head.
what I mean is that is the end result of the philosophy from Rousseau
Hmm.
in the past. Like that was the end of that ideation. George Wilhelm.
One more note about him though too, and
Uh-huh.
this is kind of take it or leave it. He's kind of he's a root for the concept of like the noble savage, and that kind of evolves into like the romantic movement, where there's a study on children and nature and landscaping. So this is where things like the Protestant world really starts accelerating itself through the arts and culture, and now you can pick and choose your husband and not get dowried off.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. That's correct. But it's
So
part of
that's
the liberalism, like
yeah. So
it's
you take it, you take the good with the bad with this whole
well, I think
dicot
that's
or
bad in a
dichotomy.
sense, right? I don't think that's good. I think the idea of the family being part of the
Well, the
family and
family.
ended up
Well, he would
deciding.
say he'd be absolutely disgusted with the degeneracy around us. He
Uh,
was a libertine. That's kind of a problem with the telos. It same with the leftist telos. There's they don't know when enough's enough, and there's no, as you've talked about before, there's no opposition to those that want to keep going farther towards one of the radical apexes or one of the peaks. You know
well, no,
the
there can't be, right?
there can't be.
Yeah, there cannot
There's
be.
no break. And that gets us to like the function, one of the functions of the absolutist teloi. It's the emergency handbrake of all this leftist and individualist acceleration. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We're getting ahead of ourselves. We got 8 more of these dudes to get through.
Yeah. Then we
Oh,
have
always a pleasure. Always a pleasure talking about real philosophy for once. Once in a while with you.
well, the good thing about the philosophy is that people don't realize, but they have their own, they are the ideas that they hold in a sense. So George
Right.
Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, fucking Hegel.
Yeah,
So
don't read the spirituality, the phenomenon of spiritual. I can't even say it, dude. It's psychobabble.
the
But anyway,
phenomenon of spirituality, is that what you were trying to say?
yeah. It's like Hegel's writing. Anybody's like, I've read Hegel. You got to kind of look at them twice or three times. It's like, dude, that is. I've skimmed Hegel enough to and read all the footnotes. I'm not reading. I'm not doing that to myself.
Well, I see
Such
it
a bad.
because it's mostly babbling. Like he was actually and Marx too. Max babbled a lot. They just babble endlessly about the
It's the
mastery.
biological nature. It's the female caterva power. Babble. It babbles. It's the
Well,
voice.
I will not put it all on the female, but yeah.
Well, no, I'm talking about the metaphysical female of the superorganism,
Okay.
because these things are gendered.
Well, that's the thing, right? I don't think they're gendered.
At the metaphysical level, they are. That's why all leftist, like far leftist dudes, are effeminate. But we'll get into that later.
No, they're
I'm
not
not trying to.
effeminate. They're not having. This is the problem that I have. Again, they're not feminine. They're not feminine. It's not like they
I
are
don't mean
having
that
a.
by I don't mean that biologically. I mean it behaviorally. They act like women. They behave the
No,
same
they're
as women.
not. They don't. They act like weak men.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
same thing.
If let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. No, no, no. That's not the same thing. Let me put it this way. If you were to see, let's say Destiny. Okay, that's tiny. If a woman was acting like this tiny, you would not say, "Oh, that's just woman behavior." You would be like, "Oh, that's pretty awful behavior. That's fucking awful." So at the end of the day, it's not about whether or not it's female or male. The behavior of what we want is towards the duty of. But let's continue.
We'll unpack that later when we get into the biologies.
Yeah,
Because
yes.
you're right. You're right. You're right. Yes, there's biological differences, and there's exceptions to the rule. Would you say that one out of every 1,000 women can probably beat up a dude or something? No, maybe 1 out of 5,000.
Yeah, it's not about that. There are different. I'm talking about the
Yeah,
behavior, because people
yeah,
say like, "Oh, they acting like women," and it's like that's a negative, right? And I understand the
right.
idea of the negative of men acting like women,
And
sure,
these would be outliers.
but
Yeah,
then when you actually look at the behavior and you put it on a woman, it's not like, oh, that behavior is fine on a woman. It's in fact not fine on a woman. So the behavior cannot be like it's bad because it's female. It would be bad because it would need a higher reason to be bad in a sense. So if
it'd
you're a
be
man
bad because
whore,
it's just
you're
beta male behavior.
yeah, I would agree with that way more than it's female behavior. It would be like, oh yeah, it's like weak man behavior that is acting that instead
Hmm.
of building the person is acting against it. So
Hmm.
Hegel is the one that gives pretty much the ethics, right, to this whole collectivist idea.
Hmm.
And what would you say is the basics
His contributions.
of their ethics? Yeah, what would you say is the basics of their ethics?
So the world is composed of geists.
Hmm.
Uh, that's kind of like one of their ethics. So they're always fighting geists. They're geist fighters. Um, and his big contribution is there is some like what I hate is people think like the Hegelian dialectic is creating a problem, having the solution for the problem, and then executing it like problem reaction solution. That's misquoting. That's not a Hegelian dialectic. All the Hegelian dialectic is one, looking to the past. Hegel is a huge proponent of if shit's broken now, you should look back in time, look for patterns, and see what was working and see what the problems were, and so on. And what he says is there is a thesis, then there is an antithesis that happened, and then there's the dialect, the conflict. Uh, Both parties, in a way, even if one completely annihilates the other, he says it really doesn't matter um, which one wins necessarily in the grand scheme of things. What happens is both are kind of annihilated, and then they synthesize. Uh, so we see this in cultures. Uh, we see this in philosophies. We see it in history. So that's Hegel's big contribution. That and being a banker for the accelerationist. He was kind of an idea money guy who
Hmm.
thought himself to be a modern day technocrat.
Okay.
As a rich kid, but of his time, I would consider him a technocrat of his time. Blowing mommy and daddy's money on the radical guy that couldn't
Okay.
feed his kids. And he wrote several different political works on, and most of them are cry fests about how things are unfair. Uh, and
Would you
then
say that they are basically related to the idea of men being good? Because I see like you calling it a mimetic, and it's true, it's a mimetic, but I see that happening a lot, especially within leftism, but also in some cases in even right wing ideas, in which they're pretty much conflating society being bad as a byproduct of something corrupting the
Mhm.
humanity, and not coming from the humanity, right?
the my political triumvirate would say the absolutist right thinks that the corruption leaks from the bureau level, the actual bureaucracy where the Overton window sits, where all the oligarchs
Yeah, but it
run
comes
things.
from the men, right? They
Well, it's the thing is the power is kind of shifty. The collectivists, they view it as the corporations. They're busy kind of blaming it on the institutions of libertas of the on the corporations, and they're
Yeah.
not wrong because they see power and money leak from the government into the corporation and vice versa. But that's not even completely where the power is because it's divided amongst the three different teloi, and
Yeah,
they
well,
refuse to see that the power comes who like during Trump's uh impeachments, right? Who did they bring in as like these grand inquisitors against him? A bunch of college professors. Seriously.
no, they
And these
did.
are the
Yes, they
people.
did.
And the cathedral, it used to be the priesthood. It used to be the Catholic and various Protestant churches that regulated the superordinate moral goals and the
Yeah.
the family unit, reproduction. It's
Yeah.
concerned with reproduction at its core when it's working right. It's
Well,
Caterva wants all her children to live
I
because when
wouldn't
she
I
becomes
wouldn't s- I wouldn't say they're focused on that. They're focusing on the ethos and
No, when it becomes degenerated, it becomes dysgenic, and then it because literally eats its babies into the pyres of ball.
yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I
The-
had a I had
the-
a I had a deb- I
whether
had
whether it's for harvest, whether it's for a new harvest, a good harvest cycle, or whether it's so that baby mama can not be a money slave or buy more things. It's also kind of sold, abortion's kind of sold as a mercy because there's nothing worse than being born in poverty. So you're also doing this fetus this great service by not
um,
even having it being born. So it's really it's that materialistic nature of
yeah, there's
republicanism.
like I was talking to somebody not long ago about this specific topic, and one of the things that they were pretty much saying to me was like, well, you only care about them babies when until they're born. After, you don't care about it. It's like, no, that's not the position.
Create a
In
band of boys.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that. I care about babies all the way till till they stop being babies, I guess.
until they're I care about people. I want to care about people, I should say.
No,
I want.
politically speaking, I care
Oh
about
yeah,
them
yeah.
all the way till they stop being babies, because I think the state has the responsibility of pretty much not necessarily providing, but ensuring the safety of kids. That's one of
Well,
that's one of the
and the
main things that
burden.
exists for, right? If we're gonna use force, we're gonna use force to ensure the safety of the kids. That's part of it.
Well, and the
And
burden on
yeah,
the like the justice and the economic system as well as the order system. I want for my countrymen, even the lowest amongst us, I want a decent, livable standard of living so long as they're doing
yeah.
whatever they can to do for themselves. No one needs to be a money slave. So
Well,
there's
the
kind of
thing is,
a
the
in this
thing.
day, what I'm saying with our collective whatever intellect, will, grace. I think that's also the reason why we're the most like charitable people on earth is because of the prosperity. You,
Well, I will say this. I will say this. Nobody is a money slave. I don't think there's anybody that is a money slave if they have a family. Because you're not a money slave. You are sacrificing your time for the welfare and the benefit of those people around you that you love.
yeah,
And that
if you
is,
have a family, yes.
well,
If
yes,
not, you're
and
a
that is the
corporate money
point.
slave to here to
Right,
buy the slop and
yeah,
sleep in the pod.
right now we have lived in one of the most prosperous times in of history, and instead of being grateful about it, we're pretty much calling ourselves as slaves for having that kind of opportunity. So I see
It's
that as a
because I'm looking at a
squandering.
picture. It's because I'm looking at a fucking picture of Hegel. I'm sorry, comrade.
Oh, yes, of course. It's a, oh, we're all slaves. My bad.
It's gonna get worse for a second. Hold your
Yeah,
breath.
there we go. Now we have Karl Marx, the
Okay,
probably
so
the worst philosopher ever.
scumbag.
Did you
Just
know?
dude, you got to
Before
give
we
him
move
credit for
forward,
the grift. You got to give him credit for the grift. I mean, it costs $5 to go see his grave today. Probably 10 in this economy.
so yeah, true. So did you know that he was on a duel and he only got grazed and he lived? And I am blaming this soldier for all of the decades of horribleness that happens afterwards. It's his
His
fault.
poor, poor parents, dude. They railed on him. They railed on him so hard. Actually, all the hardline commies, dude, like Stalin's parents, like Stalin's mother is like, you should have been an Orthodox priest. You would have been such a great priest.
Yep. Yeah, they didn't follow the parents in a sense.
That's a part of the whole rebellion. The rebellion started at the family level. It was launched at all levels: the family, the relationships between men and women, against God, man and God, man and nature. I mean,
Well, men
that
and nature
when you
was
hit that
supposed to be.
when you hit that apex of this triangle, any of the three, dude, all hell literally breaks loose.
Yeah, yeah, they do because there's nothing follow like it's just an under brittle desire uh of righteousness in a sense. And since you are the right that you're the righteous, everything you do will be considered to be correct.
And
Oh,
see, this is
you
why I
have to
warn all libertarians.
watch my debate tomorrow. You're gonna love the opening statement, dude. You're gonna love it.
N- Nice.
And I'm on the
Uh,
affirmative, so I'm gonna my opening. I already thought about my opening. My opening statement is
did you
gonna be
did,
bonkers.
did you catch any of was it Dr. Kent versus First Amender?
No, I didn't. I was watching Jim Bob. Jim Bob had a debate
He
on
got dragged
truth.
because the dude is an actual, doctor of all these different scientists and an educator and
I'll watch it. I'll get it. I'll
he's
get
got he-
myself
he's
to
got
watch it.
he's been a school teacher, he's a professor, written books, like
What was the
he's
debate
out
about
there.
between them? I didn't think of freaking.
Creationism versus evolutionism. So since the subject was creationism, the all of the evolutionist guys hate biogenesis and they just
Yeah,
hate
yeah,
the
they
law of biogenesis. So, but you have to compete with it when you're talking about creationism versus uh, I can't remember what the exact
creationism versus
prompt was.
evolutionism,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
or
So
creationism
it
versus
was
evolution, whichever is better.
he got dragged. So that was funny to watch. But
So
anyway,
Karl Marx is the one that says the acceleration is he makes the call to action. Do you think the call to action is Das Kapital or is it the Communist Manifesto? Because there's like a 20
oh, the
year
commun
period. There's a
uh,
20-year gap between both.
I would say the Communist Manifesto more than Das Capital, and then I believe, I mean, even he's got his own version of the Jewish question too. Despite the title, not so much about the tiny hats as it is just a rail on capitalism.
Well, he hated the capitalism, but the whole idea he was so he was a tiny hatter himself. He was a blue jay, and if you read the full part of his philosophy, especially the beginning of, it's just anti blue jay propaganda in a sense. He like
And he was
hated
getting
the blue
paid
jays.
by like major magazines for to be a contributor. Just everywhere he went, he became a big leech and had to go somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah, that
Like
happened. That happened a lot.
he got ran out of everywhere. Like, we like your
And
manifesto, and that's why everybody likes the manifesto. Whether it's the CCP, whether it's the Ukraine, everybody liked the manifesto. They all put their own slight different spin on it.
true,
Things that
yeah.
stand out to me the most are, and this is what my warning to absolutists and individualists who are sympathetic to, who may or may not be sympathetic to aspects of socialism and communism, um, especially if you're middle class. It's not just about the elite. Like, the manifesto specifically targets the bourgeoisie, the middle class, and there is no getting to the elite until the middle class is dismantled, if not both of them at the same time, or pitting them both against each other. And that's a lot of what the manifesto is about too, pitting the elite against uh, the bourgeoisie, and then using capitalism. Uh, Marx, believe it or not, is a proponent of the free market for one reason and one reason alone. And I think this is why people believe there's such thing as anarcho-capitalism. Uh, but
That
he's
is
not a
such a
proponent of.
contradiction.
I know, but
Anarcho-capitalism is such a
yeah, but
contradiction.
Marx himself isn't even a proponent of anarcho-capitalism. But he's for I think the misinterpretation comes from, he's for free markets as a vehicle to create more contradictions and to accelerate the downfall in capitalism. So, for example, he would be pro, like, Skittles and transmission conversion as a vehicle of capitalism to attack capitalism with,
Yeah,
because he views cap.
to get rid of the bourgeois class in a sense, because that is the generation of society and will bring up kind of an uprising
Yes,
from the masses that he sees as the moral equivalent of good.
exactly. Uh yeah, so setting contradiction, and there's a word I was going to use. Um what him and Deleuze and even Nick Land pick up on, and they use as different schools and different camps of thought, the word deterritorialize, damn it, deterritorialize. ah I'm sorry, I'm a Missouri
The
boy.
territorial size.
Yes, deterritorialization.
Okay.
Deterritorialization. All right. Yeah. So, what capitalism does is, wherever it goes, Marx makes an observation, quite a keen observation. Wherever capitalism goes, uh, it undermines kings and religions and this marketplace. And I think that's a very keen insight. Uh, he talks about, it's the capitalist revolutionary brotherhoods that topple the monarchs and the pope of Europe.
Okay. Yeah. 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 And the interesting thing, for example, here it says capitalism can be accelerated to undermine the forces of capitalism. Marx
Yep.
understood how markets are a deteriorizing force. He recognized his force as how the bourgeois overthrew the landed aristocracy to end the era of feudalism. Um,
And this is the Masonic power. the bourgeoisie,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the craftsman, shop owner, whatever.
And it makes sense because when we talk about the pyramid, the collectivists are attacking the corporations, so they're attacking the people with money that are the
Mm-hmm.
working class in a sense, or the
Mm-hmm.
higher class of the working class, and then you have
And there was
the
a
bourgeois attacking the monarchy because they think that they could be making more if they didn't have all of these rules or that's bringing up by the authority and the ones that are taxing them,
and
and the
that was one of the Protestant points of coming to America, where you would get your fair share of land and you could start building generational wealth for your family.
yeah
And that's
and
kind of what's hinted at in noble capitalism, as pointed out by Adam Smith. He didn't quite make the top three, but he's an honorable mention.
and then the last one is the aristocracy is see as the masses as they need the guidance of the authority, otherwise they become unhinged in a sense. So
Mm-hmm.
they are attacking the collectivists in that sense, the collectivists attacking the individualists in that sense, and the individualists attacking the authoritarians in that sense. So if there once
And,
yeah.
and consequently, the peasantry also has to be annihilated under uh, communist models, because the peasantry throughout all ages have been religious and have been are loyal to the king, or to the monarch or the emperor or whoever, whether we're talking about the
Well, yeah,
Chinese,
because
whether we're
at the end
talking
of the
about the French
day,
Revolution.
at the end of the day, people, I mean, individuals, and I see these all the time. All of the time, I see this is they will clamor for an authority,
Hmm.
right? And I say this in. I was talking to a libertarian the other day, and I pretty much asked him like, "Well, what do you do as a libertarian? You know that there's somebody's property is being destroyed. Let's say, okay,
Hmm.
you cannot go there and do anything. All you can do is call an authority that will do something. Would you call them? And they also, you know,
They'll say it's not my problem.
they will no. They say I will. Most of them will say I will call them, or they will try to wiggle away from it, or they will have to
That's
take the
not the, I've
position
seen
of
them
the
wiggle. I've seen them wiggle away and then try to ask all kinds of questions. Well,
yeah,
I don't know if they're in danger. I don't know if this is a real video feed. And it's like, bro,
yeah, exactly.
entertain the philosophical experiment and continue.
So at the end of the day, they're just wiggling away from it. But in reality, what I believe would happen is they would call, and they do it. If they have the capacity to do it, they do it. And like I was going to have a debate on whether or not it was a possible political system, liberalism. And the person said, "Well, I'm not a full-on libertarian in that sense, so I don't want to have the debate anymore." And I was like, "Okay, understand. I get it, but at the end of the day, it's just like, are you conceding that it's not a possible political system in a sense?"
Oh, other keynotes with Marx we do need to hammer out.
Yeah,
He does focus on materialism as an ends of ending human suffering. He believes that once there's like enough technology, bro, everybody won't have to work,
yeah,
and we can all partake in the fruits of the machine. Um, and
yeah.
so
He
this is
he
where
believed in
like
that.
this is where that collectivist, individualist, technocrat hybrid can occur.
Do you have any closing thoughts for this
For
part of the
Marx,
teloi?
yeah, one more part of Marx.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, yeah, the abolition of social class and hierarchy and money is absolutely nuts. Uh, and he thinks, and this is also that materialist worldview. He thinks that competition. This is important. Competition is morally wrong because it creates winners and losers and a hierarchy. And this because of winners lead to stockpiles lead to greed and corruption. Therefore, we need to distribute everything, and there doesn't need to be competition. Competition is bad. So you can look at the woke left and see where they try to annihilate all forms of competition between the genders, between the races, between whatever.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about fraternity. This is absolutism. This is Hobbes, Nietzsche, and Mussolini. I find it weird that you mentioned Nietzsche as the absolutist, the spiritual and ethics, but yeah,
When you break into when you really start breaking into Nietzsche, dude, he wants a daddy, and he
he wants
believes
a
that
daddy.
he wants a daddy, and he believes ultimately that men are weak, and he aligns with Hobbes that there basically needs to be some kind of leviathan, but not to rule everybody, a leviathan to mimic. That way, everybody can become this Ubermensch, and through strong people and strong selection
But
come.
we have to we have to start with Hobbes. So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
this is Hobbes, Thomas Hobbes.
So, so Hobbes is an interesting character. He didn't start his philosophy game till he was already an old man. Um, he lived through the English Civil War, so he's got a very pessimistic worldview. I mean, that you see in your king and aristocracy taken down, and then your whole country erupt into civil warfare at a young age. That's going to impact you. So he's a pessimist, and he's a realist. He's like Aristotle. He's in the line of Aristotle with a realist worldview. Being a realist goes hand in hand with being an absolutist.
Okay, so he witnessed the English Civil War. You said that he was already an old man.
Mm-hmm.
Was he part of
So his,
the trial of Richard the First? I think it was Richard the First.
uh, I'm not sure about that. I'd have to look into that. I've just been looking at some of his philosophies and
Because a lot of
extrapolating from
people,
what I studied in college.
do you know that some of the last people who were dragged, hang, and quarter were from that time? I think the
Yeah.
guy that took the king and put him in trial, like the one who captured him was hanged, drawn, and quartered.
Well, I know a lot of his rationalist thought um is used, whether it was just like being the college that inspires the jurists,
Uh-huh.
or whether he was actually a part of the jurist process itself. But a lot of his philosophy was used to justify why the king should also be the high priest of
Mm.
the Anglican Church.
I
And
mean,
this is
that
he's
is a
the
big.
backbone. He's the backbone too. I mean, in a lot of ways, I consider myself uh, a Hobbesian as far as uh, determinism, predeterminism, and free will. Like Hobbes, I believe in free will, but we live in kind of determinist systems that mean like if then, cause and effect.
Yeah, true. That idea of
Things
cause and effect
things
is correct.
yeah, things are causal, and causals can make predictions. And like Hobbes, I don't believe this intervenes in any way, shape, or form with free will or God being omnipotent and knowing the future, and being able to resolve God knowing the future and you having free will.
Is this prep for the debate tomorrow? No, we have a small running series with Trench, um, in which we're going through his philosophy more than anything. Thank you, by the way. Thank you once again for sharing your philosophy with us. I think it's very interesting. And
Yeah, it's super complex because it's Frankenstein, but by knowing the rules, it's kind of like, is it Picasso? By knowing the rules of philosophy, you can break them all.
yeah, but one of the cool things that I've been learning a lot from this idea is actually the teloi, right? Like it's a lot better for me to find a reason as to why is it that they're looking for. Because sometimes when you have the dialectic in the left and right, and you see people on the right doing weird things that seem to be more towards individualism or collect or authoritarianism in a sense, and then you have people in the left and they're doing the same kind of thing towards individualism, but at the same time have the contradictions of the collective. I kind of
right?
understand why they're doing it now, and it's way easier to put them in this triad instead of putting
N-
them in this dialectic.
And now you see why the left is completely against, the military operations right now, and then how half of the right is kind of schismed because this holds that there are two right wings. There's the individualists are ultimately at their apex. Their apex smashes into the right.
Yeah, true.
And this explains statistics like the Republicans or the right, whether the Republicans or some other party name throughout the American history, have a higher disfaction rate amongst themselves uh,
Okay,
versus a more cohesive left because there's two different rights.
okay, maybe I
But
misheard something. What's going on tomorrow? Tomorrow I have a debate on ethics, and I'm using a little bit of these to do my debate prep. But this is not it's not debate prep for tomorrow. It's just that Papa, is that you? Yes, yes, Confluence Junior. It is me. Um, yeah.
we put in the goal of this too. My one of my original goals was to ground some of my insanity in classic philosophy. So by brushing out the basics of classic philosophy, I think it's good for everybody.
And
It'll make you,
it also helps us
y-
like see what is the difference and what we want to actually do. When it
and when
comes
you're
to the
done,
political ideas.
and when we're done with this, my goal in like lecturing this and writing about it is to teach people. When you're done, you should be able to look at people, and within a handful of points of data, you can kind of figure out who they are, what their life story is, what their motivations are. I'm not saying use this power for evil, but this will definitely help you understand the world around you and why a lot of things happen. As I studied more, I realized more why the left does certain things. Hell, why I do certain things that might not be in my own best interest. So back to old Hobbes here. Uh, without his partner Calvin. Um, the classic thing of Hobbes is the bellum contra, or bellum omnia contra omnis, which means a war of all against all, or all against a war of all against all. And
Mm.
he describes nature as solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short, and that he prescribes a social contract of which we surrender our liberties or certain liberties, um, and in return of surrendering our liberties we get order, safety, shelter. And he also prescribes the vehicle for this is a leviathan, a strong monarch. He says you'll know you've met leviathan because if you survive crossing it you'll never do it again.
Fair.
And you can see, I brought up his upbringing or his early life, the chaos. So this is why he believes that in a leviathan to rule in an order-based system and an order-based government. Um, if men were angels, no government would be necessary.
Yeah, true. If men were angels, no government will be necessary. And this is something that I see the difference between one and the other, right? They have the
Mhm.
idea of the men being the collectivists have the idea of men being this noble savage, and
You're
the
right. You're dead
authoritarians
right.
don't. The authoritarians believe the man to be a savage, and you have to have you're something authoritative so that you can control
You
yourself.
have to through ethos you cultivate the savage into a man, into an ubermenschen, even, as we'll get to here in a minute, next actually.
Yeah, let's go with Nietzsche.
So yeah, we take that brute and a hard system. um you could I steal a line from the judge in Blood Meridian. What would you do with kids? Well, I'd make them. I'd raise them with wolves, and I'd make them suss out between three doors, the correct door to open that doesn't contain lions. This is kind of the Nietzschean perspective. Uh, yes, he does things like thus spoke Zarathustra, and he gets all kind of into some Eastern metaphysic. But at the end of the day, Nietzsche is about daddy, and not and not just daddy above us, because he hates Christianity. He rails against Christianity. Actually, uh, this is why I consider him sussy with his mustache. But no, he says that he even takes a step farther, is that you need to become daddy. Uh, and if you're not daddy, you're missing out on life. So this concept of Ubermenschen, or one great man, it's a self-improved ideology based on strength, intelligence, discipline, and bravery, and most importantly, a villain to power. I forget what, there's a German word for will to power. I can't remember what it is.
Mm,
Uh,
probably
it's gonna
get it.
drive me crazy. We can look it up.
Yeah.
German word will to power.
The Willsmacht? No.
There you go. I think that's what it's called. Let's type Nietzsche too.
Now I think the idea behind it at the end of the day is like, oh, you have to become daddy in a sense. Is
Mm-hmm.
like it became corrupted by the individualist. Like they have the capacity. They think they have the capacity of just being pretty much God.
Right.
So
Here's a funny pop culture reference. Do you remember the terrible B series Andromeda with Kevin Sorbo?
uh-huh.
The Nietzscheans.
Oh, the
What was their
Nietzscheans.
whole? Yeah, they lived in prides. They had these weird. They were like Klingons almost. Only the
Yeah.
strong survived. That's not very Nietzschean of you, bro. I would have executed him. That's not very Nietzschean, bro. Your kid can't bench press 300 pounds.
True.
Your kid ain't a warrior philosopher. That's not very Nietzschean of you, bro. So there's all these references in sci-fi too. It's funny. Uh, what else can we say about Nietzsche besides he was a scared, daddy needing Christian hater? Oh, he viewed, okay, let's look at that. He viewed Christianity as a slave religion. So you kind of see where this kind of goes with the windmill people and mustache man philosophies.
Well, he is the one that's attributed to have had created those kind of philosophies, right? If I'm not
I don't.
mistaken.
He doesn't even need to be directly associated, because that's, this is still ahead of that, like chronologically. Uh, I'm saying they drew from these ideas. They looked at him as a German philosopher, just as they looked at Oswald Spengler, where he writes about the decline of the West. Even though, again, before this period of time, no idea it was coming necessarily.
Yeah, yeah.
But you can also look at all these different schools of thought before that period of time as indicators of what was coming from a forensic history point of view, looking at the philosophers, especially the Germans, even the Marxist school of thought, where there's overlap.
What do you know what he thought about the kings exactly?
He had, so this is where it gets weird, because he mystifies them. I think he's more or less bent up against Christ being king, as much as he's perfectly comfortable with some kind of Germanic, neo-Roman German, some Roman Germanic religious archetype king. He's got no problem with that. and he's got no problem with the Eastern religions and philosophy, monarchs and kings either.
We do have a good
And so,
question from chat. It says Nietzsche was from an Asian school of cynicism. So it baffles me when he's taken literally. So maybe he held up a mirror to want Christianity to do better. Isn't that what cynics do?
no, he actually was not a part of Christianity or any Christian bodies. It was a vehement. I think he was an atheist, to be quite honest with you.
I heard that he was an atheist, and what I know, because the one that responds to the criticisms of Nietzsche to Christianity and to mysticism in general is Jung. And the response from Young is we need to have these, even if they're just constructs of God, we need to have this construct of God because men are incapable of justifying his own Ubermensch.
So the authoritarian atheist, there is a priesthood for that too in the right, in these forms of thinkers. Even in the right of like Confucianism, uh, especially in the right of Confucianism. Um, with Nietzsche, he's not. It's so in Eastern. So this is where I don't like sophists and Gnostics and uh, Buddhists, because I think he's kind of in line with that kind of school of thought and interpretation, just like what you were saying with Jung, where even a Buddhist doesn't necessarily have to believe in a deity or a god.
Yeah, no, they don't. But that's
Exactly.
because they don't. They literally contradict themselves when it comes to the I love identity. So they don't believe
Yeah,
in identity in a sense.
exactly. It's an aesthetic, a collectivist aesthetic that he's ascribing himself to, and bounding him, and a bit of a pagan aesthetic. The individualists have a form of it as well that we'll get into when we start looking at archetypes. Uh if there's anything else that you're curious about, old mustache number two man here from Germany.
But
Number two
the
mustache.
little number two, the little mustachos. No, I agree with I agree with you when it comes to his ideation, um, especially when it comes to him seeing authority as a because if you actually think of the Ubermage as like the final authority, he cannot ground it in anything, so he just has to ground it in
But
in
the
himself,
Ubermensch
right?
is but so he is totally captivated by the post-revolutionary concept of nationalism. The Ubermensch should be grounded in love of country.
Imsa says his sister came out later in life stating he was a cynic, so I don't know for certain he was an atheist or played one in his act. He was an antagonist in his script. Well, the thing that I will say about that specifically is I cannot give him flowers for something I don't know. So I will take his writings
Yeah, and
as face
I think
value.
that people were doing a pretty good job of record keeping at this period of time, and he is, even though he wasn't really famous until you know after he died, there was still enough information. He would still gain enough notoriety for people to know about him. And had he been an actual religious person, I think it would reflect in some kind of document, text, writing, book of his, or some kind of firsthand account. Yeah, he went to my Orthodox church, or he went to my Catholic church, or he was a Christian Scientist, or a part of uh, some theosophical movement or something in the Protestant world.
That doesn't mean
And
that he's wrong about anything, or we're trying to destroy him in a sense. We're just
no,
talking
no,
about
and
his.
I agree. And like with all these philosophers, I highlight these people because I at some point in time, we joke about Poundtown, but part of this superstructure of this philosophy is to kind of annihilate a little bit of your own position and get you and force you into understanding the other's positions. And I
True.
wouldn't have included these people if they weren't correct about some aspect of my model or of history or their observations. I'm not a big Mussolini fan in the real world, but if I'm an absolutist, uh and I'm especially an absolutist in his country at his time, uh, you know, maybe Mussolini spitting.
Well, he was because he got to power at the end of the day, so you have to understand why he
Exactly.
got to power. Now, I
And
have
that's
a problem with this
and
one
these okay.
because I say that Mussolini is not an authoritarian; it's a
You know,
collectivist.
you think so, but
Hmm.
so what is Leviathan at the end of the day? Hobbes is Leviathan specifically.
I don't know. What do you mean?
There's a picture of it here. Let's actually let me pull up. We have slides.
We have slides.
Slide number 2, actually.
Oh yeah, let's go to 58.
This is a famous woodcut. I can't remember the artist,
Okay, this is a king.
but yes, this is Leviathan.
Okay,
What do you see of Leviathan?
the crown, the scepter, and the sword, and I
But
believe that's
the
like all of the subjects.
the yeah, the subjects, but what are the subjects specifically in their placement?
The body.
Yeah, they're the chainmail.
Oh, interesting.
And uh, remember what I said, what Hobbes says. Hobbes says, if you cross Leviathan one time and survive, you will do no more. Period. The end. Leviathan, what is it? The long arm of the man stretches a long way, so to
Hmm.
speak.
Yeah.
So it's a collective force. At the end of the day, all three teloi are a collective force if we segment mankind down into thirds.
Okay. Well, it's true that they're collective, but I'm talking more about
Yeah,
his
they're the actual
his.
collectivists.
I'm talking
You're
about
to, like they now
his
he is a for
ideation.
he is so this is where the totalitarian shift comes into play, and where they both overlap because he is a former commie, just like good old Goebbels. You know,
Huh?
the commie to fasci bridge is a lot shorter than the
Well, I see them as the same thing. It's just one
especially
did better
when
than the
we're
other.
more liberal minded and libertarian minded as men of the West, of course. And this is why I always joke around and say that a libertarian really can't tell the difference between a commie and a Nazi.
Yeah, well, yeah, true. But
All
it's
they
because
see is
there's no
the
difference. It's not because we cannot tell the difference.
yeah. Oh, there's huge overlap, just like there's huge overlap. Just like to the collectivist, the capitalist, and the fasci are the same thing. You know,
Yeah, they will say exactly. Yeah, yeah, true.
and,
That's a
and,
truism,
and,
right? But
then
but this is the thing. I see that
to
as a
the
power
absolutist,
structure. I don't see that as
and
I
to
don't
the
see a difference
absolutist,
between with merit.
and to the absolutist, the whether you're Wall Street capitalist or goose stepping Bolshevist, it's just tiny hats.
Okay.
No, but seriously, that is one of the metrics that, and there's that actually falls into play later on too when
I
we
think
get
the only
into
thing all Telos can agree on is that they don't like the Blue Jays. Like that's it. That's the only thing they can agree.
not the individualist one. The individualist has a long history, long history.
No,
It's
they
actually
also have the problems with the Blue
it's
Jays. They
because of,
also have them.
yeah, they have their problems, but anywhere where there's a strong market class, you
Everywhere there's a strong market class, there's a Blue Jay.
yes sir. They live in big cities, dude. They can't run their schemes out in the middle of nowhere.
It's the Blue Jay. The
When
Blue
people
Jay. It's the Blue Jay.
when people are the capital, And their religions fall under certain teloids. Theirs is an individualist one. That's why it's rabbinical, and that's why even during their judges period, uh, there was different a million different rabbinical schools of thought clashing with each other, just like the Protestants. There's a reason why
Yeah.
the Prots. It's no coincidence that the Prots are guilty of a certain,
Yeah, that's
tiny
the
handing
reason I became
heresy.
Sola Talmuda. That's the reason why.
But so I guess we need to hit a little bit on Mussolini. Um, Life is duty, elevation, and conquest lived for others.
Mhm.
So so that's where the totalitarian shift or overlap comes between the collectivist and the absolutist far right. Uh, is this is for others. This is for the blood, yo, gang gang.
Thank you very much to some gay for the $5 through Ko-fi. He says, seems pretty down to me.
So he's the intellectual father for the fasci ideology, and the term totalitarianism, actually. Uh, so I hate people, especially the modern leftist interpretations for fascism, when they can literally get it from the Don right here. If you're not using Mussolini's forms of fascism and what he's throwing down in his manifestos, which are state property, uh, then we're not talking about fascism. To Mussolini, Mustache Man was a leftist.
Wait a second. I got it wrong. Oh, he didn't say anything. He just said 5. My apologies. I clicked on the wrong one. But thank you very much
I
for the
laugh at
5.
I laugh at people that say, you're a fascist. I'm like, yeah, but where are the secret police death squads?
Yeah, even worse.
Everybody knows
I've
about
seen
the
a
death squads.
I've
This is a
seen a
fascist
lot of.
country, dude. We all know about the death squads. You shouldn't have been running your mouth, and the secret police wouldn't have got you.
Yeah, it's true. I find it really
That's
funny
fascist
sometimes.
ideology.
I hear the claims of I'm a fascist, and then they see anything that is a little bit anti-liberal, and they start like being full blown liberals.
Right.
It's kind of annoying.
Now, this is important right here. Hated capitalism. A capitalist enterprise, when difficulties arise, throws itself like a dead weight into the state's arms. So he's literally bailing out banks and shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another
Literally
reason
put.
why I dislike the fucking libertarians, because it's like every single time they do something dumb and destroy their own economy, they're like, "Daddy government, help me!" It's like,
Right,
please,
right.
Daddy government, help me! Like, oh God.
So Mussolini's foreign policy is the idea of living space, which is ethnic groups go in their ethnic spots. More same with the collectivists. This is where they overlap in totalitarianism, the state, and the idea of the nation state, and nationalism. Whether the collectivist likes it or not, at the end of the day, like we were talking about the 6 traits before, nationalism and supranationalism are shared between the collectivist and the absolutist. And that's why he's a pro free market, because the free market blends is a blender to nationalism and supranationalism.
It also
But
helps that they are, when you're in the marketplace,
mhm.
all of the people, you don't care about where they're coming from. You just want them to blend, right? Because all of they're doing is pretty much cogs
Yes.
in a machine.
So triumvirate theory would say this is why whether you go to Tokyo, Hong Kong, Los Angeles, Mexico City, Madrid, Tel Aviv, London, wherever, Dubai, you're more or less in the same place with the same terrible postmodern architecture,
Uh,
listening and hearing the exact same pop culture songs and movies and
well,
consuming the same products. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's understandable. I still think that Mussolini is just a commie. That all he realizes that he
I
wanted
get
was
it, but
power.
the farther you get into the to Leviathan, Leviathan isn't about so the difference between Leviathan and I would say that the left is behemoth, right? So if a demonic form of Sumus is Leviathan, then a demonic form of Caterva would be behemoth. And they start looking alike because of their mass, because of their scale, because of all the institutions that can throw you in the dungeon, and the secret police and the
True.
firing squads. Uh, but there's a difference. The collective is in charge of the mass organism, ruled through the central committee, which still ultimately needs a daddy in the form of like some kind of chairman or high imam, supreme leader, whatever, what have you.
Uh-huh.
Uh, or it's all an image of the emperor. So instead of the central committee, it's just the autocrat.
Okay. First off, you're gonna
And this
stop
is like
saying the
and
name of the emperor in vain, okay?
yes, my lord. The, the God Emperor had nothing to do with this.
The God Emperor. Okay, let's move on to individualism. Let me highlight something. Italy has always been a country of basic nation states. Italians are so interesting to study historically. Love the Medici family and their contributions to the arts.
Yeah, you can really see Italy's evolution through the cycles. Uh, Whether they're more individualist Confederate states, or you go deeper into time and it's different city states. Etruscans leading to Romans, leading or to Latins, leading to Romans, leading to a massive empire. Just the nature of empire is a collective of nations. That's all an empire is. America was founded as an empire.
Yep.
People haven't really caught on to that, but they'll catch on.
So we have Locke, Nozick, and Land. This is very weird because I knew all of the other ones, but I know nothing of these four of these three.
Yeah, leave
So
it to me to do something different because I thought about it, and like I said, Adam Smith is literally the number four honorable mention here. But Nick Land's been cooking as far as what the future is concerned, and he's got several hundred as a philosopher. He's got several hundred more years insight on the nature of technology. So, and like when you look at some of even his like Adderall fueled uh, CCRU socialist days before he saw the light, even that stuff, his cyberpunk stuff is what was it called? Fangnomina, Meltdown, is even though it's a bunch of psychobabble, it's extraordinarily prophetic for where we are now.
true. So we start with
So,
Locke, and
yep,
this is
that.
just
So he's the third. He's the third guy that really throws down a solid natural state in social contract. And when you take a philosophy class, uh, you're going to see this three-way battle between Locke, Rousseau, and Hobbes.
okay.
Even though that same hippie college professor will make it seem like it's just right versus left dialectic when it's really a three-player game. Um, so Locke is all wealth is a product of labor. So in like he's it's funny, republicanism comes to mind. They're totally the bronze class. He's totally the exemplar of the bronze class and what the bronze class should be. Uh, you keep what you make. You pay your profit. You kick your cut up a certain cut up to keep order. As enough order is necessary, and you should be allowed to have freedom of conscience, so long as you're not hurting anybody. Even though he's not the root of the non-aggression pact, we start seeing its kind of foundation here, which then Nozick uh, will kind of solidify later on in the 70s and 80s. Um, Enforced religious uniformity leads to social disorder. So this is that Protestant thing. If you look historically from like a theoretical historian or a forensic historian perspective, you'll see that Protestantism, capitalism, Freemasonry, uh, there's one more thing that's escaping my mind right now. They all have the same birthday. They're all, you know, 14th through 16th century. There was really the foundation starts kind of in the 14th century, but by early 16th century, all three of these things have the exact same birthday,
Okay.
and that's no coincidence.
So he
Because I
believes this is interesting. The tabula rasa, that man is just a blank state and it can be, made
yes,
into anything.
and this is why libertarians kind of have this whole non-aggression pact idea: live and let live, so long as nobody's hurting me. And this is the overlap of the left. This is inherited from Rousseau. Man's born in a good state. It's society, bro, that makes him evil.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I agree
So
with that.
he says we enter into a social contract and limit some of our rights in favor of security. So he's kind of this is the he's the grandfather of the night watchman state. And he says, you know, as Thomas Jefferson would plagiarize, uh, life, liberty, and property is what Locke says, and then Thomas Jefferson switches it to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Life,
And
liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, true.
that materialism, bro. Locke and materialism is a overlap of republicanism. Both the collectivist and individualist share materialism as a trait, as seen in yeah, slide number 7. I know slide number 7 is a monster, but as we've gone through, I think this is our third or fourth one of these. As we've gone through some of these, now we've been filling in some of the content here that looked like so much in the beginning.
Yeah, we've been we've been moving along. It's a good
But
thing.
you see here in theonomists and techno commercialists where they both share technology, bureaucracy, and materialism
Yeah,
and
yeah.
as traits, which is a failsafe in the whole system. That way, if any one of the teloid uh, retards or degenerates itself, the other two can pick up the slap momentarily until the third one catches its breath, because you need all three to have a functioning culture, civilization, society. That's been my ultimate truth. There is no total annihilation of the left. It's been tried.
Well, what about the? Well, there's never gonna be that, right? Because at the end of the day, is
You would have to annihilate all the women. At the end of the day, we'll get to that
what?
later in
No,
biology.
there's woman
Oh, yeah.
authority. No,
I
no.
get it. I get it. I
Stop,
get it.
stop triggering
I
me.
don't mean I don't mean every single woman,
Uh,
but that's what I'm getting at. That's why it's an impossibility.
right.
Women haven't been just backdoor passengers throughout history. As the postmodern feminist school of thought would have you believe, women have actually contained quite a great deal of power and authority and influence, especially when seen through the lens of triumvirate theory, when they play to their powers, to their wheelhouse, especially when it comes to influence,
Yep.
uh, manipulation, espionage. Uh,
Okay.
uh,
We got Robert Nozick.
yes. So Robert Nozick, he is famous for the Wilt Chamberlain exercise. So he runs the shotgun blast statement of this, trying to speed up. Um, he runs a mental experiment called the Wilt Chamberlain experiment, where basically, if there's 10 people, let's say, and we give everybody an equal amount of money, uh,
Uh-huh.
there's this marketplace that exists, and ultimately somebody's going to end up with more money because Wilt Chamberlain exists. You're so the example plays out. You know, people are going to want entertainment at some in some way, shape, or form. So let's say you're into basketball, or people pay money to see Wilt Chamberlain slam dunk and put on a show. This is why, you know, the WNBA doesn't sell as many tickets as the NBA,
Okay.
because Wilt Chamberlain exists. Because, if you're going to that's how the marketplace works. Uh yes, women are capable of great fundamentals and layups and strategy, but when it comes to, alley oop slam dunking, nobody's throwing down like King James or Michael Jordan or so on and so forth. Uh, so you're going to pay to see the best, and ultimately, what this means is, at the end of the day, Wilt Chamberlain's going to have the most of these redistributed dollars because he's the best basketball player of his time. Obviously, you know we've accelerated in the timeline, but in the '70s, this was hot shit.
Well, he
So
was he still is the only player who has ever had a 100-point game. So
yes, yes. So
so pretty much what they're
again,
saying is the Pareto principle, right? They're pretty much saying there's
yes.
people who are going to be
So
the ones at the top, and they're going to be have a capacity to dominate the market. And
exactly, winners. So
yeah,
now we can look at Marx, winners versus losers. So you can understand that, and this is an individualist right here. He understands that he is never going to be able to play basketball at Wilt Chamberlain's level, but he's still an individualist because he's the Wilt Chamberlain of college professors.
okay, yeah, I agree that. So so they're pretty much stating the idea of winners or losers is not a bad thing. It's just a thing that happens. It's idea of the market, and yeah. Emmett, I feel
Yes.
like you dropped this. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you, Dave. I didn't drop it though. And the acceleration is would be Nick Land, who once again, I know where you find this guy. I've never heard of him.
A lot of people have it, and a lot of the leftists would say that he's a fasci because he wrote a little bit about something called hyper racism, and that's all they saw and read. What they didn't realize he was talking about is an inevitability that could occur if once we're like spacefaring people. Like if you're born in space in zero gravity, and that's been your life for your whole life, you're not going to be able to just land on any planet. So
True.
there's going to be differences, and I think like culturally, an interesting way to look at that is if you've ever seen the Expanse series on Amazon.
I heard of it,
If you
but I
if you
never have
haven't
seen
watched
it.
it, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. And now watch it through the lens of what I've been talking about here through the three Teloi. So you have the Earth faction, which is that's like the UN has taken over the world. So it's a global collectivist state with universal basic income, which is basically a death sentence in the lore of the universe. And they're ruled by the UN Secretary General. There is the Mars Federation, and they're the Fash Boys, warlike on a mission to terraform Mars. They have the best military technology in the solar system. There was a civil war between Earth and Mars because the first Martian colonists were from Earth. The Martians won and then became the military superpower of the solar system.
Yeah,
Uh, and then they're the Belters. They're the shipbuilders and space engineers. They're born in zero gravity. They live on all the satellites and constellations and spacecraft that orbit the like freaking. I think we're mining. I think they're mining the asteroid belt, which is actually one of the theories of futurism that we should do to build superstructures in space because the iron's already there. So they're mining the asteroid belt, and they're the best shipbuilders in the uh, you know super technologically advanced, and they're basically like the Wild West ruled by corporations. It's an anarcho-capitalist wet dream.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool series to watch how all three of these telloi bang against each other and team up and trick each other, and well, it's good and synthesize.
Yeah, I'll
So
try to watch it. Um
so Nick Land, um, where to begin? He believes that the future is already settled. He actually, this is where he gets metaphysical. He says I'm just gonna outright say it, and it's gonna sound fucking nuts.
okay.
He says that capitalism and artificial intelligence are one and the same thing.
Okay.
And he actually gloats and says, "You don't understand capitalism or artificial intelligence if you don't understand that they are the same process and of the same process." And it kind of like sits back and gives you that shit eating grin right there that he has.
Uh-huh.
uh, he was hardcore in the school of Marxism when he was a college professor at Oxford,
Oh, fuck this guy.
right? But somewhere, I think he had just the right amount of Adderall or something. Uh, Somewhere he hit the capitalist wall, and he ultimately, like so many reformed communists, asked, why hasn't capitalism been toppled yet? It should have been toppled already if it was possible. And that's where he starts derailing against the whole system. And actually, why he's relevant is because he and a guy named Mencius Mulbug, aka Curtis Yarvin, he is a California. I can't remember which school off the top of my head. Uh,
Probably
Berkeley, Berkeley.
oh, yeah, I was gonna say Berkeley.
I think he's Berkeley. Uh, but
Or UCLA,
Nick
one of the two.
Nick Land and him come up with the neo reactionary school of thought, which uh, Vice President J.D. Vance kind of got blasted for because he was citing a lot of what Moldbug's talking about in his writing of the cathedral. Him and Nick Land come up with this concept of the cathedral, which makes up the left. The thesis of that pretty much is the church kind of used to be in charge of the left, as far as like the superordinate goals of the nation state or the moral goals. It was concerned with child reproduction and education.
Uh-huh.
Then after pretty much then after Nietzsche, God is God is dead and we have killed them, representing modernity. Uh, Post modernity.
Mhm.
Where the fuck am I? Sorry, I'm a mad person. This happens.
That's okay.
It's a lot. I'm telling you, brother. Um, Post modernity, the
Mm.
postmodern, post World War II, the modernist worldview kind of takes hold as the new super religion, the new global religion, and through that, the nominal function of the church is kind of degenerated, and the postmodern religion has kind of taken over. And once the religion collapsed and the belief kind of faded away amongst the masses, the institutions were still in place. Oxford was Harvard, Yale. If you look at all these places, coat of arms and histories, these were ministries at first. These were Protestant ministries at first. Uh, the orders of those institutions still exist. It's just that there's new management. They took over. And instead of preaching in a God, uh, and all of the other normative things as far as what Katerva is supposed to be concerned with before it became a democracy and dysgenic versus a polity, as Aristotle would say. Uh, that breakdown is ruled is still, or that breakdown, the machine that rules today by consensus is still the cathedral. So they call it the cathedral, and that is the university system alone. It quit making ministry. It quit preaching a ministry, but it's still preaching dogma.
Well,
It's still
yeah, of
it's
course.
it still rules. It rules by hearts and minds. Hence, during President Trump's uh, impeachment, college professors were the lead inquisitors.
Yeah.
They didn't bring in fancy, high priced lawyers and this and that and the other thing. They brought in college professors. And college professors steer the next generation of minds. That's how the PR,
Well, not of
uh,
minds of the higher class.
well, minds of even every, like, look at our generation. How many people went to college?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
Millennials.
The
Millennials are the like what, 50%, 40 to 50% of millennials have been to college.
Yeah, but
So
imagine this. Who
mhm.
have you heard the idea of the educational system is not bad. We only need to reform it.
Or create a new one.
No, now create a new one, reform it. Which is
Well,
the same thing.
I'm
You're
for
changing it to be the new
I'm for
thing.
reforming it. But what I'm saying is,
Yeah, who's gonna
if
do it?
if those physical institutions collapse, then something else will naturally take its place.
Yeah, but once again, who's gonna do the reform?
I don't know. I think it's going to have to collapse in order for it to be reformed.
No, right
Like
now. Let's say that right now there's a
when I
new
was in
people.
university, my
Listen,
student
listen to the
ID was
question,
a
Trench.
debit
Listen to the
card. It
question,
was
Trench.
also a debit card. I
Yeah, listen to the question.
know.
Okay,
Okay, bro.
okay.
Uh-huh.
Right now, you're president. You
Uh-huh.
are said you're in charge of the people who will do the reform. Who do you hire?
Who do I hire?
Yeah,
Um it's not about a it's not a matter of who I hire. I think the question, it would be how I hire. I would hire out a more meritocratic system. Obviously, that, what was that Yale professor's
yeah,
name, or Harvard professor that was a joke, a plagiarist, what do you call it? A EO hire, an equal opportunities hire.
yeah. The I hire.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, but that's
that
not the
should.
question. The question is who do you hire, right? Who do you have the capacity of hiring?
I want to hire the people that are qualified, and not just qualified by an appealed authority and a magical piece of paper, but
Uh huh.
by ethos, by people that know what they're talking about, by people who
Yes, but
are
as the
masters in
system is
business.
right now, if you're gonna do a change in the education system, one of the first things that you will have to do is hire people with degrees in education.
Well,
It's not even because you want something different or not.
yeah, I would say I would hire people that aren't Marxists.
It, yeah, but they still go to university. You still go to the idea, so we'll find probably liberal teachers in a sense.
Yeah, I would get rid of all the nonsense and all the fake peer review people too. I would restructure that whole system. And from a personal level, this is just me, the pessimist. I
Hmm.
think the system is beyond reform, and that they at best collapse. Like, the university is held up by dead money in the form of offering master's degrees in underwater basket weaving with an emphasis in Marxist gender theory. These are degree courses that you can pay $100,000 for. That system is I think, quite frankly, beyond reform.
Yeah, but that the reason why it's beyond reform is because the people you need to hire to do the reform is the same people that are running the institution right now. Because they're the ones who have the institutional power in the sense of they are the ones who are supposed to have the capacity of doing the change. So
I
you need
would
to hire
say,
from the university to make the changes to the system that
yeah,
is
I would
sustaining the
hire
university.
I would hire a really good interviewer and profiler, and I would weed out all of the woke.
No, I would just get rid of it because there's no way to sustain it because it's corrupt
And I would get
in the
I would
foundation.
get the banks out, and I would delete the Department of Education.
Yeah, we can agree on that one, but it's all I'm saying is you still have to agree to the fact that it will come to the collapse in a sense. Your face is an LB town. Shh. Good to see you, Grumple.
Um,
Hope you have a good day.
so he rails Nick Land. Here's an interesting point. He rejects the similarity between the ideas of fascism and capitalism, claiming
Hmm.
that fascism uh, is a mass anti-capitalist movement. So I think that's important, delineating a difference as far as the accusations put on him, and these were like direct quotes. Um, he's for a limited democracy. Uh, so he's more of a like a night watchman state, but he supports accelerating technology, AI, all of it.
Yeah,
So
well,
where I question him is like, what future are you building? A future for the machines? Who are you building a future for,
yes,
bro?
exactly.
This is
Because
not
they don't
the,
care about the human in and of itself. But they think about they are the individualism in and of itself is what they likes, and most of the people, especially men, would like things. So
and
they're fine
how much is,
with
yes,
having machines and stuff.
how much of individualism isn't possible without things. You're not going to survive by yourself out in the middle of nowhere without a handful of things that are quite ingenious.
Okay. Now, I think this is what you actually want to talk about, which is the schema, which is probably psychology, which
Yes, a little
I'm
bit.
gonna hate and you're gonna like, but we can go here. Organization of knowledge, adaptive understanding, shapes perception and memory, development and change, and role in cognitive process. The rock, paper, scissors, the schema worldview, motivating factors in triumvirate theory. So the schema of the worldview, and tell me about what do you mean by schema?
So a schema is kind of like what Nietzsche's talking about is a will. Um, in a lot of ways, I guess making a computer reference is everybody has different schemas, and that would kind of like be your operating different operating systems, your methodology of going about things. A collectivist and a individualist and an absolutist have different methodologies in how they would go about things based on their worldviews. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, does that make sense?
I mean, we can even Google the Oxford.
I mean, we can go. Yeah, if you want to, we can go do the
Yeah,
Oxford.
I also like to make sure I'm not just making up words or using them incorrectly. A schema is a mental framework, structure, or pattern that organizes categories of information and the relationships among them. So your operating system.
Yeah. So when you're talking about the schema of the worldview, when you're talking about the triumvirate theory, is all of the theory is the schema, or each one of
Each
the
one has their own schema.
okay, each one has their own schema.
Yep. Each teloi has their own schema, their own strat for world domination, their
You
own
said that they
strategy
are
for their own strategy for dealing with the other two schemas.
so they are the three complex or the three constructs, and then each one has six social, cultural motivations.
Yes.
What are the six?
So well, we can slide down.
Okay.
Boom shakalaki. So the six. So you don't have a culture or a civilization unless you have banking and merchantry, materialism, militarism, nationalism, supranationalism, or civic nationalism, religion slash philosophy, either or both, meaning, or technology bureaucracy, either or both.
Okay.
And so there are six, but each of the teloi is concerned with four. Two of the three teloi, two traits are each teloi is the progenitor of two traits, and then it inherits a trait from the adjacent teloi. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah. So
Okay.
they inherit one from each other. So the collectivists
Mhm.
inherit one from absolutism, one from individualism, and is the creator of two on its own. And then
Yeah.
absolutism inherits one and it's creator of two. Yeah, it makes sense.
So the collectivists are the progenitors of religion, philosophy, and materialism, and then they inherit technology, bureaucracy from the individualist, and nationalism and supranationalism from the absolutists.
Hmm.
The absolutist is the progenitor of, and oh, important note: the collectivists, the among the collectivists, it's ruled by a group, and you can interchange the words to collectivist and theonomist. A
Okay.
the, theonomist, theonomist is a adherent of theonomy, God's law, a theological and political view holding that Mosaic Old Testament civil laws remain binding on modern nations. So that's its view, and I still say that holds today because the what do you call them? The uh the atheist humanist social humanist perspective is still built on these theonomist laws. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, you know, competition bad, bro. uh the materialism is a root where you get the collective together. And I think this goes back to the primordial collective of of cave people or what have you. They the, the the materials that your tribe can produce
I think we're
are
gonna go into them a little bit more, so we can just
okay.
go
Yeah.
directly into them.
I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm not used to doing slides.
Yeah, so we go scheme
Yeah.
of worldview. For example, the bank and the merchantry is like it tells you like,
I had a plan for this. I'm just spitballing. Okay, so the
oh
scheme
my
of
god, look at those Blue Jays. I mean,
yeah. So the banking merchantry, this trade is the primordial trait of individualism. The trait is an inherited trait of absolutism. It's focused on accumulating and stockpiling wealth, resources, and techno capital, machines, devices, materials, goods, labor, services. That's techno capital. Even ants, as Nick Land would say, even ants have techno capital. So he views techno capital as a natural force. The ants being, they farm certain molds, and they have aphids that they husband, that they do husbandry with. They actually use aphids as cattle that they milk for a sweet, sweet honeydew nectar. So that's techno capital. Chimpanzees use sticks to get tasty fire ants. Techno capital. Um, let's see here. There's a focus on local, national, and institutional trade. There's an elite merchant class, a middle class. There has to be, where there's an elite merchant class, there's also a robust middle class. So it's a good thing when done correctly. Trade unions, guilds, and cartels, property ownership or warrant system, uh, trade markets, free or regulated,
so this is just
corporate
like a
bodies.
a regulation of the free market in a sense, because their
Well,
idea is to regulate,
right,
is
but
to regulate.
it's a trait. It's a trait of the individualists, and everywhere you see, like forensic history will show you where they are even geographically. Like a
Hmm.
lot of island nations, whether we're talking about the Minoans, Japan, Great Britain, are individualist capitalist places, kind of always controlled by a baron class. The king's the king, but the barons will overthrow you. The shogun the shogun can get challenged by the next samurai lord.
Right. And then we have materialism, which is, I think it's similar, but this is the value is on things, not on money, right?
Correct. This is kind of the weird difference being like a means to an ends or an ends to a means kind of thing going on. The focus and between the two, the collectivist and the individualist, is where technocrats are born. That's why it's kind of like some technocrats you can't tell whether they're a commie or like a fat cat capitalist billionaire like Carl Schwab, for instance. Um, the This trait is the primordial trait of collectivism, inherited trait of individualism. Focus on understanding the physical world through scientific rationalism, like at a spiritual level, to alleviate human suffering. Like Marx,
Yeah.
the machine will set us free. Even land, the machine will set us free. Priority on technology, material goods, and services as a vehicle to escape suffering. I said that material goods, services, and technologies are intrinsic part of human existence. Life without material goods, services, and technologies is insufferable and unjust. And if you can't have these things, you should abort the fetus. Human evolution is dependent on material goods and service, so you should abort the fetus if you can't have it. Consumer culture, the middle class management, corporations, consumers, some religions and universities make up the institutions of this schema. Germany was a Protestant state, and it had some of the most profound communist philosophers. Next
Yeah.
slide.
And then we have the militarism. This is from absolutism, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Primordial
And
trait of absolutism, inherited of individualism. Genghis Khan is a thing. Uh, Focus on material power, warrior class, caste, and social hierarchy. Allocation of national resources to military and supporting industries. Strong culture of war supported by heraldry, uh, military heraldry, middle class, uh, patriotic volunteerism, or compulsory conscription. Uh, Territorial expansionism or willingness to defend national interests with force.
mhm,
Strong paternalist uh, culture.
culture.
Yes.
And then you do a
Law
law
enforcement.
enforcement. Yeah.
Yep. Sheriffs, all that jazz. Um,
Nationalism and supernationalism. This is civic
and
nationalism.
yes, it's all the nationalisms, just like the song Nationalism.
Yeah. Nationalism.
This is what I see.
Baby, don't
It
be
was
absurd.
the early
Nationalism's not a bad word.
the early 90s when this picture was taken was the peak of American nationalism.
Yeah,
Let's see here. We
I
had monster
remember.
trucks and everything with American flags jumping shit. It was a glorious time. Uh, the trait of this is the primordial trait of absolutism. It's an inherited trait of collectivism. Focus on building and managing the nation state under one council or governmental system.
Hmm.
Focus on building and managing multiple nation states under one unifying council or governing system. That would be an empire.
Yeah.
And that system can be religious system. It could be just a really badass warlord. It could be a philosophy. It just there has to be a leviathan in place of some shape. It could take the form of religious nationalism, with shared faith being the uh, constituents of the nation. Civic nationalism, where the culture is patriotic clubs, state religions, cults, NGOs, think tanks, universities, Boy Scouts, the you know, freaking Schmittler youth, you name it. Continuing.
Yes. And we can go to the religion philosophy.
That's
I
the
hate you.
collectivist.
Why do you have to put the dumbest thing in the
Because
world?
that because how collective does that look?
Horrible.
Yeah, it's crazy collectivist picture, right?
It's horrible.
Have you seen my band Payback album cover? There's a 747 flying into a certain cube. It says Payback. I think it's a work of art. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Um Religion and philosophy is heavily rooted in the collectivist scheme. And don't get it twisted before someone's like, well, I'm right wing, I'm religious, and them lefties are godless. Yes, I understand this. But from a historical perspective, even Christianity has collectivist roots, especially in the collapse of an empire.
Well, I would
Um,
say that everyone is religious, right?
mhm.
Everyone. So when they say I have no God, that's not a true statement. They see
and let
themselves as
a-
gods in a
and
sense.
let's also remember this thing is a fractal too in a lot of ways. There are this teloi you can keep putting, so inside like the hardest left collectivist is you can go, you're still going to have collectivist, individualist, and absolutist. That's what the whole point of bringing up the social and psychological and historical profiles of Schmittler, Yerbals, and Horing was all about, to show that these were three different completely dudes. One's an individualist, one's an absolutist, and one's an individualist. But yet here they are, the high command of the Schmatzi party.
Okay, let's move on with the theology bureaucracy, technology bureaucracy.
Yes, technology bureaucracy. This is the individualist primordial trait. It's
Yep.
inherited by collectivism, focusing on developing technology for political power and national stability, focus on law and institutions to regulate social order, and institutional power and development, focus on archiving data and organizing human interest activities and institutions, alleviates human suffering by maximizing efficiency of human power and resources. That's the whole bureaucratic side of things. Technology is evolution to these people. Thus, evolving mankind through technological development is a priority. This is why a handful of years ago, the singularity was a big deal in pop culture, and I'm sure it's going to come around again. The transhuman movement, I say that even the transgender movement is the natural precursor developed by the individualist uh, pharmaceutical industrial complex. Uh, it's the first step to transhumanism. You're not, until you can really start messing with the human psyche and body, like telling men they can be women and women can be men. You're not going to be able to unleash any of these other scientific horrors against mankind, on mankind, until you knock out that first basic step. We're talking about prolonged human life, uh, experimenting with your genome to make you stronger,
Oh
faster,
Lord,
smarter.
stop! Stop with this
you,
nonsense.
you think I'm playing, but
I'm not. I don't think
these
you're playing. I think you're. I think it's
there's
nonsense
billions of
nonetheless.
there's billions of dollars behind this already, just like there was billions of dollars behind artificial intelligence, to which bit by bit, step by step, it was rudimentary in the beginning, but
It's
now
still
everybody has a
rudimentary. It's still not
yes, but
working, and
yes,
still will never work.
but now everybody has a Grok in their pocket that can smoke anybody in any SAT.
SAT, no. SAT. First off, the first thing that everybody has had a problem with the SAT in a sense is that it's a memory test.
Yes,
Sure, you can have a better memory test. That means absolutely nothing because it's
yes,
not
it's
about
just a
how much
data,
memory you have.
but it's not going to stop.
It's
It's
gonna
not going to stop
stop
them.
because it can have a soul.
Yeah, I know, but it's not going to stop. Let's say the It's not going to stop the Baron Lords from replacing the white collar middle managers with AIs.
It will, because the management part of the work is not to put things on sheets of paper. It's to manage the other individuals. You need a person.
I get that, but think about all the people between that manager in the secretarial offices, in the data and logs keeping, in medical billing and coding.
I how
Computer
many people
programming.
are those? I don't know. I don't think there's that many people doing that kind of
I know
things.
that's the thing though, because a lot of our manual labor stuff's been outsourced to foreigners, and we were sold this postmodern thing of everybody gets a college degree, and we were more or less going to be the middle managers of the manufacturing world, and that failed. This technocratic dream failed.
Well, it's not true, right? It's not gonna happen.
It's not, and we're literally looking at the repercussions of that in the form of specialized degrees of underwater basket weaving with an emphasis on dance and Marxist study.
Medical billing coding, it's a lot.
Mailmen, think about all the different clerical jobs there
You
are out there
need
that
the mailman.
think about all the clerical jobs out there that can be automatized though, from a serious
Okay,
neutral
how
level.
are you gonna get rid of the mailman?
Email, email. Like I check my mailbox like 3 times, shit, once a month.
So, I got a little bit of plastic on my mail. I cannot get the plastic unless I do it by mail. And there's a lot of people getting bullshit, like plastic that I have in my hand right now, through mail.
Yeah, there's certain like official government documents.
Th-
If I
Doesn't.
can't, if I can't get like 90% of everything I get is digital.
Uh
Ninety
huh.
percent of what everybody needs. Like, dude, I'm filling out VA forms online.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's fine.
I'm filling out like you can fill out most in certain states. You can fill out most of your driver's license shit online.
Yeah, you can do it online.
You can do so much online, and we do so much online. The like, there's a reason why so many post offices are shutting down. It's because they're obsolete. They're becoming obsolete. They're not completely obsolete. You still need to get your official documents from the government via mail. Like the IRS doesn't make phone calls. Don't give them your
Fine,
bank account
you
number.
already do that, but that's not the point. You still need the mailman.
I get it. I'm not saying
Especially now. Now there's a lot more
I'm not saying
bullshit being arrived at
I'm not
people's
saying
homes.
I'm not saying let's abolish the post office. That's not my position at
Well,
all.
I will say yes, let's abolish
I'm
the
just
post
talking about
office, but
the coming waves of so many people thought that it was just so many of these low class trench digging jobs and burger flippers that were going to
mhm.
be automatized. No, it's so much more profound than that.
Okay,
So that's kind
What are the six social motivating traits?
those were it.
Oh, those are the okay. Those are the
Yeah,
and it
this was
tells
just a
you like what are the
continuation.
motivators from each one. I would say that
Hmm.
there's a hierarchy. There's a hierarchy status.
Yes.
They care more about the
Um,
ones that is created by the teller, and then the
right.
other two that are inherited, right?
So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of showing um the three different estates of the realm and how those kind when you look at the three different estates of the realm, you can see these six different traits.
Okay. So what is the first state?
The first estate is oratores, those who pray, from the French Revolution, the priesthood. And since modernity, it's now the technocrat class and the college professors
Yeah,
that
the
are
college
the
degrees,
priesthood. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then you have the second state would be the those who fight, which is the kings, right? In a
Mm-hmm.
sense.
But now, in a lot of ways, it's the CEO.
Okay, the CEO. That makes sense. Although I would not say they're the ones who fight. I
Not
would say it's the
necessarily. I'm saying
president.
I say in a lot of ways, I still put the CEO in the third estate because like the second estate is still an elite kind of group. You know, not everybody can be the Secretary of War.
Yeah, and then the third one is those who work, which is
Laboratories.
yeah.
That's the middle class and us dregs. And another way to look at it is the populists in so many ways. It's the populists who are paying the taxes on all these robust programs. It's the populists who are on the hook for a $4 trillion runaway education student loan program. Like when they created the Department of Education, it became like the second or third largest bank overnight in the
Oh,
world.
okay, yeah.
And it's got $4 trillion in unsecured liabilities and
Jesus.
$2 trillion of which nobody's ever going to be able to pay back because there's no market for an underwater basket weaving degree with a study in theater and an emphasis to Marxism.
Okay. And there's like
It,
a
it,
lot.
it,
So this is like mostly those who are driven towards the states, right?
yes,
Okay.
and then we're going to compare. Then we compare that with Aristotle's three estates,
All right, we'll do
which
this
which
last one. I'll think this is gonna be
yeah,
the end of it because
you're cooked.
yeah,
But
I'm just feeling really bad right now.
no, you're good. And like, dude, there's this is it's a whole process.
We're gonna finish this, dude. We are almost
We're
80
about,
pages in. We'll do it.
we're about halfway there, and it's that all of this has been foundational for the coming psychological parts for where us as humans as individual persona fit into this whether we're a collectivist individualist and absolutist, and why we would even lean towards collectivism, absolutism, or individualism based on our own experiences of our lives.
Okay.
And
So
we'll look at that through the lens of like Freud, our boy Young.
Aristotle's trinity of social power. We have number of rulers, ideal, and perverted. So one is monarchy, tyranny. Few is aristocracy, oligarchy. Many is polity, democracy. Right?
Yes.
Why is
What,
democracy perverted?
I think it has to do with the word demo. It's like you've heard of the word demolish, or what was the Roman word for and decimate, the
Decimate.
tenth man.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but a democracy was viewed as the perverted mob rule. A polity is where you have a mob, not a mob, but a collective that is of virtue. It's enlightened through education. It operates nominally and it makes informed decisions if it's, especially if it has a vote. Uh, the aristocracy translates to best among us. Polity, I think, means city or the ideal city.
Mm-hmm.
It's where we get like the word politic and police from.
Yep.
Uh, Oligarchy is the degenerated aristocracy. Aristocracy meaning the best among us. Oligarchy meaning like eaters or something like that. Um, a tyrant is someone that uses force, too much force, and a monarchy is the virtuous king. Aristotle believed that you needed to have all three, and they needed to be balanced and operating in their ideal. And where you have all three operating in their ideal, you have a total virtuous society and culture, and that you're going to see the fruit of that, and that you'll see the fruit of when there's a tyranny, oligarchy, or a democracy. And what's weird to me is the founding fathers and the marketers and intellectuals that coined the term democracy for the United States. They were well aware of Aristotle in this, so it is kind of weird that they chose the word democracy instead
Yeah.
of polity. It's one of the things that keeps me up at night.
Yeah, I was wondering because if it's seen as the perverted, it's kind of interesting that they
Yeah,
use
yeah,
democracy as is.
they were well aware of Aristotle when they framed the Constitution. So
Mm,
that's weird to me.
yeah, true. And then the politic is the oligarchy, the feud, the democracy, the many, and the tyranny, which is the one. And this is just pretty much stating what you've been saying, right? The Trinity,
Hmm.
the three, well, not Trinity, the the three,
It's just a part of their schema
well, yeah, the
of
Trinity.
how they view the worldview. An absolutist is gonna be like, yeah, dude, nation and our emperor king.
Hmm.
That's who's in charge, and that's how it's gonna be. The the individualist is going to appeal to the elites, to the technocracy, to the baron lords, to the oligarchs or aristocracy. You know, the whether it's the celebrity, whether it's the Elon Musk,
Hmm.
etc. And the polity is going to appeal to the mob. Think of the not just the children, but think of the, the wheelchair ridden, diabetes having black woman, uh, gay person.
And then you have the rhetoric Trinity, the logos, the
Yeah.
pathos, and the ethos.
So this maps over to the collectivists are driven by pathos, and that's why if you debate them, you'll see that everything will sooner or later boil into circular logic
How dare you?
and emotional
Yeah, emotional appeals. They do
different
everything's just an
emotional
emotional appeal.
appeals. And if that doesn't work, then attack your character. It's pathos. Think of the children.
Yeah.
The baby's hung, and this is biological. I hate using the word evolutionary, but as far as like trying to make this scientific, it's biological evolutionary. The the primordial left is concerned with in a nominal form when it's operating with virtue, it's concerned with the children. Think of the children now. And when it sees like a $35 billion warship or something like that, $300 billion warship, it's like, dude, we could have built a lot of schools and hospitals with that money. Um, the ethos is to the absolutist. It's why like all of the great dictators, emperors, and strongmen of all history are sharp, and their armies looked sharp. You know, fine Hugo Boss, uh, and the individualists are concerned with logos because they rule by remuneration.
Hmm.
So if it's going to blow the deal, it's probably not a good idea. Like racism is bad for business.
Yep. So it's the ethos. Then we have the pathos. We really have the idea, and then finally we'll have the logos.
And I would say study these three things because they're just if you're going to debate, you really to be a solid debater, you need to know how to use all three of these weapons.
Yeah, yeah. I was talking to
Either
somebody the other day, and that's pretty much said that. It's like the person asked me like, "What would you change of me?" And I would be like, I just said, "Well, I would change the pathos." And it's like,
Mhm.
but why would I want to care about emotions? Like, well, no, you want to be able to use emotion against or for people, right? That's the point
and
of.
that and that's like say with the transmission thing, the appeal to that is emotional.
Hmm.
You ought let us, you know, uh, cut your boy's who man off, otherwise he's going to self delete himself.
Yeah.
That's an emotional appeal instead of using some sort of logical appeal. Um, I would say that you should ground your debate strategies in logos. Everything needs to be logical and work
Well,
itself out.
no, I would
If
say the
it
other
hold
way
on,
around.
hold on. I would ground there with my foundation. Then I would use ethos to solidify my logic
It's the other way
as the
around.
exam as the example of what's worked before, and then I would use the sprinkles as pathos here and there, but not too much because you don't want to come off as a woman.
Yeah, shut up. It's not a woman thing. Anyway, it's the ethos is the thing that you that is the first thing because it's the one that gives you what you ought to do, why you're doing this. It's giving the purpose of the whole thing. Then you have the logos, which both of them are important. You have to be able to use both. And we're talking about. I'm not talking about logos as God. I'm talking about logos as just the logical form. And then
Correct.
finally is the pathos, and you ought be able to
I mean, you make a
present it
good
in a way
point.
that makes sense.
Nobody would have followed Mustache Man. He would not have been credible without that sexy, sexy Hugo Boss.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Hugo Boss gave us the best military.
In the several awesome machine guns.
All right, we'll live here. We'll pick up on the rhetoric of the triumvirate theory. 2 weeks from now, if you're up for it, it's gonna
I'm
be
down.
on the 21st. So we'll do it on the 21st. Okay.
Sounds good. There's can only be like what 2, 3, 4 of these left. I don't fucking know.
Probably
I'm still
3.
writing.
I think
Yeah, it's
we're gonna go a little bit
why,
faster, maybe.
and we'll touch base because there's some of these I haven't flushed out on this that
Uh,
I can make sense for you.
we're getting there. We're getting close.
We're getting close.
Thank you very
Thank you
much
to everybody
for
for
your
bearing
time
with me.
trench. It's awesome. It's really cool.
Well, thanks for letting me rant my psychosis at you and your audience. Y'all are good people.
Okay. Time for the debate tomorrow. The debate tomorrow is gonna be done at um 8 Central. No, wait. 9 Central Standard Time. So the debate is gonna be at 9 CST.
I just read Grumple's comment every time someone says schema drink. My boy
Yep.
lit. Well, I'll be I'll be watching.
Okay. Thank you very much for
Well,
coming, Trench.
thank you. I'm gonna hop off of here. Y'all have a good night and God bless.
God bless you. Have a good one. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and end up the stream. I'm feeling not great. I see that Lion is streaming right now, so I'm gonna just send you over there. And I'm gonna take my time. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. That's all I'm gonna do. I am just a little bit tired, but thank you all for being here. I hope you enjoyed. Poundtown is gonna be a little bit of a more complex philosophical topic every time. So I understand if it's not your cup of tea, but also it's your fault. What is going on? What am I doing? Uh what? I did something wrong. Thank you very much, Trench. Very awesome. Um really enjoyable. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and take my moment. It's gonna be content. Okay. Say hi to Elder for me. What? Ah, here it is. Thank you for being here, and God bless you all. Hope you have an excellent time. Enjoy Final Fantasy. I'll probably do tomorrow Final Fantasy stream. Have a good one, everybody. Take good care.